Hey everyone, my name is Krisell Valenzuela, and thank you for coming to my special last edition of my community readings for collective healing. If you are new here, if you have been watching me for some time now, thank you so much for being with me on this journey. This last community reading for collective healing, which is a mouthful, I know. It marks the end of my soul focus on energy work, soul focus on psychic development, and really stepping into a focus on helping the mother, helping the mom heal and shift into the archetype of the matriarch. Does that mean that the psychic development is going away? Does it mean the spiritual connection is going away? Absolutely not. Those are both integral parts of making that my matriarch mindset shift. And it just means that I'm having more of a focus on reaching that person. So if you're joining me here today, oh, yes, thank you for being here, Aisha. If you're joining me here today, drop me a hi in the chat and let me know where you're joining from. I'd love to hear from you. There will still be opportunities to connect with me. I am transitioning to less and less interaction or personal involvement in my social media, but you can always connect with me in the embodied gathering. And it's totally different from typical social media because it's much slower. Life is experienced in living, in your person-to-person interactions, and like being present and with someone. And that's what the embodied gathering is for, because it's much slower pace, so you can go out and live your life. So thanks so much for being here. And I'm going to get into some readings, and hopefully we have some moms joining. Aisha, I know you're a mom. So I'd love to do some readings for some moms as I transition to this new role, to this new focus of helping moms heal so that they can thrive in their home life and in their career. So what I'd like to do is let's go ahead and start with a meditation to help you relax. And drop me a comment in the chat. Let me know if the music, the background music is too loud, if I need to turn it down, or if it's just good. So I will give that a second. Actually, let me do this. One thing that I do want to share is one of the biggest reasons for this shift from being focused on giving psychic readings or mediumship readings and really stepping into helping a specific archetype was I was doing hypnosis training, and I realized that I wasn't making as big of an impact as I would like because I was trying to reach too many people. And it's so important to me to help mothers, to help working moms especially thrive at home and in their career, because I believe that we're here to make a big shift in the consciousness of the collective, to do it through healing the mom, to healing the matriarchy, to bringing back the matriarchy, rebuilding it and empowering it. And yes, moms are my specialty. I know as moms, as human beings, it's often hard for us to celebrate ourselves and be our own biggest cheerleader. And I, thank you, Aisha. I was working with a mother or a mom to be, and she knows that my specialty is to work with working moms, to help working moms. And she said that, hey everyone, my name is Krisell. Sorry. And she was saying that the way that I navigate conversations and the way that I weave in the story and the way that I coach and heal, it is mothering. It is the matriarchy. It is matriarching. And the more of us that can have that compassion and flexibility in how we lead, because matriarchy is leadership. And the more of us matriarchs that can exist in the world, to go against the grain, to be present and present what is needed in that moment and not what was programmed into us, to live for the present moment and not live for the expectation, the higher the vibration and consciousness that we can raise at this planet. And that is why working moms especially, is so important to me. To tell you a little bit about my story, I was working for a company. I think I was already working there 6 years, 5 years when I got pregnant. And I worked with a group that was primarily men. The women were single, and it was what is commonly known as a high-paced environment with high work volume. And that's a corporate or politically correct way to call something, to say that it has long working hours, that you grind and you hustle. And when I started working there, or when I went back to work after having my first kid, I was commuting 2 hours each way. So on top of going to work in what is considered a high stress environment, and then having to commute 4 hours a day, on top of pumping, on top of going home and caring for a baby, it was hard. And that's a lot to carry on one person. And that's just considering the mental load of having to do things. That doesn't even consider the emotional load, because being a mother, a first-time mother, is such an emotional experience. Separating from your child when you return to work is such an emotional experience. And having thrown myself in such stressful situations, I never felt like I had time to even consider how I was feeling. And before I went to work, I actually felt very depressed. I remember looking at my sweet baby's face and thinking that he was so precious and I love him so much, but also feeling like, how could I feel so sad inside when I have this beautiful baby staring back at me? And my baby was so cute. And he's still so cute. And at the time, I didn't know what to call what I was feeling. I just knew that I felt so sad and that I just wanted to cry all the time. But then also feeling very confused and lost and alone, because I didn't know anyone else that felt that. I didn't know what resources I had, and I didn't have the support to help me through it. And that was a really dark, difficult time. And even though I went to work and even though I would go be around other people, I felt like I was just so good at putting on a happy face and making things work and showing people that things were okay. But inside, I felt so dark and sad and lonely. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that I was experiencing postpartum depression. And being able to talk to someone about it was such a game changer for me, and so validating, and really helped ground me. Because the worst feeling was I felt like I was losing my mind because I didn't know what I was dealing with and I didn't know what to call it. It's almost like being haunted by a ghost that you never see. So that is why it's so important for me to work with working moms. So now I've gone through the healing work of creating presence, awareness, and really that's what psychic development is. And if you've been with me for a while, you've heard that I call psychic development self-care. It's a lesson in self-care. And that's why, because in order to open up your psychic abilities, you really have to pause and be present, and to open up your heart and to show yourself that love, because your abilities grow with your capacity to hold love, because that's what it is. That's what that's what the psychic connection is. It's a heart to heart, a love connection. And it does not need to be romantic love. It could be a love of friendship. It could be another word is escaping me. It could be a love of a neighbor, a love for your community members. And that's really all that it is. And it takes practice. And that's what transforms you and reminds you of who you are. If you can show yourself love, you can meet yourself and remember who you are. So sometimes people need more help. They need someone to facilitate that for them because they're so far from themselves. And that's where working with a facilitator or a practitioner can be really valuable. And that's where I learned the most. I've worked with so many different healers, therapists, teachers, guides, and that is what has led me to where I am today. So I know what it feels like to be that working mom that is juggling everything, feeling like you're not good enough because you're not there all the time with your child, but then also feeling like you need that career, you need something for yourself, because there's a part inside of you that understands that you also need to give to yourself. And sometimes that's what the career is. It's your passion. It's what you're giving to yourself. So if you are interested in a reading, please drop me an emoji and I'll read off of your emoji. And while we're waiting for that, Aisha, I am going to read for you in just a second. I'm actually going to pull a card for a collective reading. Okay, so I pulled the Six of Cups reversed. And for the collective, it feels like there is a lot of separation right now. Six of Cups is all about how we thrive when we come together. It's about harmony and the abundance that comes from that harmony. When we think about harmony, it's really the calm after the storm. There's a calm before the storm, and there's a calm after the storm. There's like the rebirth after the storm. It's when you think of a fire and how it burns everything down, but then that ash is actually also really rich in nutrients for bringing that land back to life. That's what the energy of the Six of Cups is. And it being reversed, it feels like there's a lot of tension, that there's a lot of separation. But I feel like I know that some of the planetary movements, that there are some retrogrades, and I feel like that's what it is. It feels like this tension, this separation, it's really an opportunity for pause and to take a break, for people to have time to themselves. And that's so relatable as a mom. One of the things that my most recent therapist shared with me is to ensure that I am spending time weekly with myself, just to myself. And as a mother, you are always trying to do things and be there for your family, but just having a moment of quiet, even if it's just 30 minutes or an hour, can do so much for your well-being. There are a lot of parents out there are a lot of moms out there that get overstimulated from like kids screaming, all the noises, TV, music, video games, dog barking, kids fighting. And it's okay to take a break. And it's even better to teach your family that you need breaks from time to time, and that it's okay to spend an hour by yourself. And what it brings to mind is when people have a hard time being by themselves, and it's because there is no one there to model how healthy time alone can be. It's a fine line with what time alone, whether it's healthy or unhealthy for you. And it really just depends on the person and their situation. There's no black and white. I'm really just leaning into, how much time do I need to recharge? How much time do I need? So while it feels like the energy is out of balance because we have this reversal, it also feels like that is really what we need at this time. Here in the US, because I know I have folks that join from all over the place. Here in the US, last weekend was Mother's Day. And some people like to spend their Mother's Day by themselves because they spend so much time with their family and tending to their family that spending time by themselves really is a treat. And we need more of that. We need much more of that, and normalizing alone time, because alone time isn't just punishment. Alone time can be punishment, and it can be revitalizing. Alone time can be punishment, and it can be a reward. When we think about when we're children, we think about time out and how it was punishment to be by yourself. But even time out is not intended to be punishment. It's intended to be time to reflect on what it is that you did that caused you to take time away. Like, why do I need this moment to myself? And that's really what we need to come back to, is that alone time is really for reflection and revitalization and recalibration to a chill vibe. Good morning, Claire. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for being here. So I was just pulling a card for the collective, the Six of Cups reverse, and sharing that. So thank you, everyone. And if you are interested in a reading, if you would love a reading, to all my mamas, please drop a emoji in the chat and I'd be happy to read for you. So I'm going to read for Aisha here. Or should I say Karma Jones. And I don't know why, but your emoji's not showing up. And that's okay, because I'm going to read for you regardless. Okay. So Aisha, I just need to clear this. And I do need to shut the music off. Okay. I see you and you are twirling. It's like a majorette twirling a baton, and you're just twirling like in this motion. It's almost like you're a windshield wiper like that, and you're twirling a baton. But I feel like on this baton I feel like it's a child on the baton. And it feels playful. It's not harmful in any way, but it feels playful. And what I really feel like is that this energy of this child, it's a small boy with very light skin. And he has like blondish curly hair, short curly hair. And it feels like this baton is actually his energy, and that the spinning motion, that's his energy, that he has lots of energy. So you're in for a very high energy child. But it feels very grounding for you. Like the reason why I see you holding him as he twirls in your hand, moving from side to side, is because you are what grounds him, and that it is your energy that holds him and like keeps him close. I feel like the potential is that this energy could kind of like ricochet and go wild, but I feel like you keep him on a steady path, and that while he has a lot of energy, you set the boundaries for him, and that you create this safe space for him. And I feel like you yourself, that you're very grounded and very still, and you look very happy. I also feel like there's a lot of crown chakra energy in you activated, but in a way that um, disturbs your equilibrium, and it feels like you could turn that down. So the way that you can do that is in meditation. If you simply visualize your body, you could do this any way that you'd like. But my recommendation, which might be the easiest, is to visualize a dial by each chakra, and then turning it up or turning it down. And this needs to actually be turned down. So when you're in meditation, to visualize that dial for your crown chakra and then turn that dial down. And I feel like that will help ground you, because it's almost like you're being pulled in opposite directions, and that the crown chakra connection is trying to like pull you out of gravity. and you belong here. Let's see. I see generations of women coming and hugging you and holding you. I feel like the first one is someone that has come up in readings before. It's a very, like, it feels like a very big presence. I feel like she was a tall woman. I feel like this is grandma. I feel like she was a tall woman, but her energy feels even bigger. Like it feels like she's a giant because her energy feels so large. And behind her, I feel like the next generation is coming in and then holding her, and the next generation comes in and holds her, and they're all holding you together. So it feels like through this pregnancy that everyone is holding you. They say, I hear this first through grandma, the big energy that's right with you. And she says, don't believe everything that he says, and that you have a right to know. And it also, she also says, just be careful. Hold on. My partner's mowing the lawn outside my window. Okay, so she says, just be careful. And it feels like she's a fierce protector of you. Who are you talking about? I feel like it's your partner that she's talking about. And she says he doesn't need to tell you everything, but he needs to tell you the truth. And that no matter what happens, she's there with you, guiding you. She says that she's not, even though she's guiding you, you don't always like to listen. She says, but I'm going to be there no matter what. And she says, he's something else. I don't know if that's the one, but he's something else. And that you love him. But that's your lesson to figure out. And that she will be there with you as you figure it out and as you go through it. So no matter what happens, that you are well resourced spiritually. She said, you don't need to know what it is right now that he's talking about, that he needs to tell you, but you need to be able to, um, it's like, she's telling me that you need to be able to discern between what he tells you, what is the truth and what is not the truth. And she's saying that it's because you that you need to, it's so that you can protect your babies. And she says, just protect your babies. Okay. And Aisha, I also want to let you know that it doesn't always have to be, oof, I was going to say, it doesn't always have to be doom and gloom, and that if anything that I say doesn't resonate, you don't have to take it, that you can stick it in your pocket and save it for later, or just not take it at all. But she was saying that there's a part of you that's a bit Pollyannish, which is overly optimistic. Like there's healthy optimism, and then there's like optimism with a bit of realism. And she's saying that the reason why you need to know the truth, or why you need to be able to tell, is because you can be Pollyannish, where you tend to be overly optimistic. So that's it. Otherwise, grandma really loves you. It comes with a lot of love. So thank you for letting me read for you. And please share how that helps you, or if it means anything to you. Claire, I will be reading for you next. Thank you so much for being here again, Claire. Okay. Claire, I always see horses when I read for you. Let's see. I see you riding on a horse, and it has such a strong, like confident and secure feeling. It almost feels like armor, the way that it feels like being equipped and having like this special tool or weapon, which horses are a special tool. But first of all, if the first question that came to mind is like, Claire, why haven't you done something with your horses yet? Because every time your horses come up, it always feels like you need to be sharing that your love and your connection with horses with other people, in that they're in like that healing therapy, that equine therapy that I know you've talked about. And it also feels like in the moments that you feel afraid or doubtful, that you could always tap into that energy of your horses, or that feeling that you connect with being around your horses, because it gives you so much confidence and security. Because it feels so dominating and fierce and powerful. Like it kind of, what I'm saying, it kind of reminds me of like when the Lone Ranger shows up on their horse and they get the bad guys and they just are like, oh, you're done for now. It feels like that when I see you on the horse. So, like, you could be working in an office and you could not have the horse with you, but you could essentially visualize and tap into being on a horse or being in that energy, and show up in relationships and interactions like that. Because, sometimes certain people need to be put in their place. Sometimes certain people take advantage and you need to stand up to them. And that's where the power and the energy of your horses, your horse guides, and your connection with horses can come in as well. And it's that same powerful leading energy that can be so healing for the people that you've thought about working with in equine therapy. And it's also that it feels like that fierce, spicy, like, let me toss my hair around a bit. And it also feels like, so Claire mentions that she visualizes and brings in their smell when she's feeling uncomfortable. And it feels like tapping into that same energy of the horses to build, like, motivate you and drive your competitive nature. Because having a competitive nature or that drive doesn't always have to mean like I have to beat someone. It could also be a means of prioritizing or focusing, because there are lots of ways that you can look at it. And this is what I'm thinking. So let's say you're going for a job and you're interviewing, and it's between you and maybe two other candidates. And you could tap into that competitive nature of, or that like energy, that powerful energy that your horses give you, and use it to give you to help motivate you and drive you to be the best at that interview, because you really, really want that job. That's a job that you really want. It aligns with your beliefs and values. It helps foster the kind of life that you are creating for yourself. And it's just, it checks all the boxes. Okay. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be driven because you want to beat the other people. It could just be that this is the perfect job for you. And so you need that, you need to have that driven energy to continue to show up for that process until the end and do your best. So it feels like needing to pull in that energy for that horse energy for that. And it also feels like using that energy to really like love yourself and show off yourself, because I think it's coming up as like being a show pony, like a show horse, a competitive show horse, and being really proud of yourself, and having that energy to really strut your step and to show everything that you have off. And it's like when the horses dance or they trot, and it's like being able to shake your hips and own what you got and put it out there and allow yourself to be seen, is what it feels like. And that feels complete. So that was so beautiful, Claire. I love that. And I truly feel like you're someone that they could share so much with people, because you have such an amazing story, and that it could really help a lot of people if you allowed yourself to be seen more. Um, so Clara mentioned that one of her fears is showing off, and this is very different from showing off, because it's not about uh, vanity. It's about impact. It's about sharing your story to reach others and to help others. And I think that's a lot of people have that same perspective, where they're like, I don't want to toot my own horn because then people are going to think that I'm showing off. But showing off is talking about yourself, praising yourself just for the sake of acknowledgement. And at that point, that's vanity. It's like, oh, I only fix myself up to stare at myself in the mirror. Which, if you're into that, cool. That's wonderful. That's for you. But when you do it because there's a bigger impact, your shame does not come from vanity. Your shame is now interfering with your purpose and your passion. So that's the difference between showing off and having a bigger purpose and having wanting to make an impact. So they say in neuroscience that if you say something 15 times, your subconscious starts to adjust it. That's the neuroplasticity. So if I say impact, I don't know, 10 more times, maybe you'll start to believe it. And that feels complete. So thank you, Claire, for letting me read for you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Claire. And hey, energy coach, how's it going? Oops. Okay, so Aisha mentioned, I feel like my partner doesn't try his full potential as being the best version of himself, and he does the bare minimum. So that is his journey. That's his experience. And so I think as we talk about what it means to be a mom that thrives at home and in her career, it does also mean that you have to let people have their journey and being very protective of how you show up and join in on their journey. Like, how are you going to be their co-pilot? Are you going to try and fix them, or are you going to make a safe space for them to learn their lessons? And this is something that I had to learn for myself too, because in my recent years, I thought that I had to do everything for everyone. And that is the curse of codependence. Like, you don't have to do everything for everyone. People are allowed to make mistakes. Mistakes are actually really beautiful and gifts of growth. And making a mistake, it's a lesson. Repeating the mistake 100 times, I mean, that's like a really harsh lesson, but nonetheless, that's a lesson for that person. And until it clicks for them, they need to keep on at that lesson. And it's your job to be there to support them, to help create that safe space. You can do anything in that situation, but fix it for them. Because everyone learns at a different pace and they simply need to figure it out on their own. I was just talking with a friend last night about how I dated a lot of broke dudes. Before meeting my partner, I dated a lot of broke dudes. And I, at one point, dated a broke dude that even had a kid. And he wasn't just a broke dude, like, he was a broke dude with no job and he had a kid. And I finally was like, I'm too successful and too much of a catch to be dating a bunch of broke dudes that are just like, can't take care of themselves. I was trying to take care of them for them because that was the codependent in me. And I just had to stop. And I had friends I have friends in that same situation that they date broke dudes. And I have other friends that can't understand why they're doing that. And they're like, we should talk to them. We should say something like, why? And for me, I'm like, it doesn't matter what you tell them. They have to figure it out on their own. Because you can even tell them like, hey, you should break up with them, but they'll break up with them and cognitively, like, it doesn't make sense to them. They're just doing what they're being told. And so they're going to fall back into that pattern because they haven't made the conscious shift to understand like why this doesn't work for them and the benefit of going in another direction. So it's beautiful that you recognize he has so much potential. It's not your job to make him better. it is his job to want to be better first, and then for you to simply support him on that journey. So, and yes, I will be changing my community. I mean, the name is going to change, the color, the branding has changed a bit, but I'll be holding more events in there exclusive to members. It's a free community, and that's the Embodied Gathering. If you're not familiar with the Embodied Gathering, you can head over to my website. My website's going to stay the same, krisellcan.com. My Instagram has actually changed to Krisell at KrisellCB, because it's more than mediumship now. So I'm going to drop my new Instagram handle. And there. So in the past, my name, as I've shown up in business, has been krisellcan.medium. And in business, it's been Krisellcan. And really, that was born out of a fear of being seen, because I thought that my day job would be in jeopardy if I was identifiable. I mean, my name is pretty unique. So my first name alone is pretty unique. So it's kind of hard to not be like very identifiable. And it's, I no longer work for that company. So I don't need to use a pseudonym anymore. And I'll just be using my name, which is Krisell Valenzuela. My maiden name is Kanamaso, and Can has always just been how I shortened it to make it easier. Yeah. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining today. If you would like a reading before I close out today, go ahead and drop me an emoji. And if I can fit any more in, I would love to. And thank you, Energy Coach. Follow me on Instagram. Join the Embodied Gathering to connect with me. I'm dropping lots more content on helping moms thrive at home and in their careers. And I'm coming out with new offerings specifically for working moms, burned out moms. And let's be honest, every mom is a burned out mom. Not every mom, because there are more matriarchs out there than y'all give yourselves credit for. And yeah, I would love to give you a reading, Energy Coach. So here we go. By the way, has anyone seen the Super Mario movie? I want to go. Okay, so I see clouds of a very deep royal purple, and I also see clouds of a very deep yellow color. And I also see clouds of like a really very like a very opaque white. And it reminds me of my my branding, because at one point I was trying to change the colors of my branding to be more bold. So these colors are very bold is what it feels like. And that it's gold and purple. I said yellow, but it's gold. It's gold and purple, and it feels like they're trying to balance each other. It actually, so, and when I see them, they are horizontal to each other. They're not vertical. So it doesn't feel like it's aligning to chakras. And I don't actually see a figure somewhere in there. Hold on, because it's never okay with me that people are, sorry. It's never okay with me when people are trying to I don't like when people target people in my readings because this is a safe space and no one would ever DM you and tell you that they need to give you a reading. That's like a violation of your consent. That's someone reading your energy without your consent. That would be like going through like a HIPAA violation, like going through someone's medical records without your consent or a need to know. So I just needed to take care of that real quick. So energy coach, gold and purple, and they're next to each other and they're clouds, and it feels like they're starting to form a twister. So it's almost like they're going to create a vortex around you. And it's really interesting because they are neutralizing colors or complementary, sorry, not neutralizing, but complementary colors. So I feel like there's a lot of balance happening there. And it's actually, it feels like it's happening to all of you. I don't see any figure or symbol inside of the clouds. So I feel like it doesn't matter what part of you it's going over. It feels like it's just all encompassing. And then this white cloud just sits on top, almost as if it's like an ice cream cone, like a gold and purple ice cream cone with a white cloud on top. And why is this vortex spinning around you? So let's see here. So what I get is that it feels like there have been really strong feels. There have been really strong, and it feels like, I say internal feels, but it feels like really strong emotions and feelings coursing through you, and almost to the point that it feels like it's taking over. And so, this experience of this vortex is really meant to ground you, interestingly enough. Um, it's supposed to help it's sucking all of the emotions out. These aren't even your emotions. So there's a lot of feeling and emotions moving through you that are from others. And this purple and gold vortex it's almost like the car wash or the vacuum that is helping suck them out and help ground you back in your own energy. And I feel like this purple and gold vortex is actually your doing. Like, this is your process and this is how you cleanse and clear your energy. I feel like that's part of how you work with people, that you help take away their energy, sort of like an empath. Because with empaths, we feel what other people are going through, but there's also an extent of us absorbing their energy. And in a way, it's um, our way of healing because we take it and then we give it back to the earth. But it feels like that's kind of how you help people, is that they come to you because they're overwhelmed with their own energy. And while you're coaching them and there's a level of education, that there's also a level of you just like taking the burden off of them. And the way that I think of it, it's very similar to using medication. So medication is not right for everyone, and it's a personal choice. And also sometimes it's like, well, how bad are things? Do we need that kind of help? Because sometimes people, and I think in terms of like alcoholism, where people that are going sober and need to detox, if they have a severe addiction, they have to go to a rehabilitation center where they help them detox through the use of medication. So it can be beneficial. And it feels like that's kind of what you do. It's like you're the rehab and you need to help take some of that energy off of them so they can begin, because it's just so much for them. And that's what you do to help stabilize them. It's one of the ways that you help stabilize them. And even this process feels like it wears on you because this vortex feels intense, and that sometimes even after you've finished clearing yourself, or you've done the process, the ritual to clear your energy, it feels like sometimes you feel a little woozy and wobbly, because that's what I see coming out of the vortex. And so even just sitting down and grounding is necessary, but it feels like it wears on you in the way that like it doesn't need to be that intense anymore, is what it feels like. And that would actually quite serve you to not see everyone, to refine your filter, I guess, to refine who you work with so as to allow yourself. It feels like there's a naturally regenerative process, and that allowing yourself to rely on that naturally regenerative process more frequently, as opposed to this intense vortex that goes through and clears your energy. And that the only way you can do that is to give yourself a break and to lean more into the breaks, is what it feels like. It feels like if you were to take a step back from seeing so many people and having less interactions, you would be able to make more of an impact through how you teach people how to work with their energy. And that is matriarch energy. It's delegating. It's creating the safe space for people to make their own mistakes and to learn from them. But creating the safe space, letting them know that they are supported and being there when they need that support. Because when I see you seeing less people and there's less energy just in your proximity, I see this like random hand place a crown on top of you. And it feels like that is the right balance for you, is actually to see less people and to have more time with them. And I call this shift from mom to matriarch, and it doesn't matter like whether you actually have kids or not, though, because the matriarch is a woman leader. And matriarch is, I mean, matriarch is a gender term that we use for the woman, but matriarch represents an emotional leader, a leader that leads with emotional intelligence. And when we think about people and how they're learning, what affects them the most is the confidence and how they feel. And helping people tap into that energy before they're an expert at what they're doing, that is matriarch energy. It's being able to help show someone that they already have it within them so that they try, because it's not. And actually, like, you're not amazing because you're an expert. You could be an expert, but you're just really mediocre expert. You're amazing because you are fearless and you're willing and you're daring with what you're doing, that you're willing to push the boundaries to go further. It feels like that, the end. So I hope that makes sense. Love to hear how that resonates for you. And sorry for that interruption for our little our troll. So thank you everyone for joining me today for my last community readings for collective healing. Keep an eye out for my podcast coming out. It's called All Heal the Matriarch, in which I'll talk more about the matriarch mindset shift and highlighting matriarchs that I admire, while also sharing my story. Follow me on Instagram at Krisell CV, and you can also hang out with me at the Embodied Gathering. All of this can be found on my website at krisellcan.com. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you all soon.